One of the biggest misconceptions about technology today, and it's actually been a misconception that's existed as technology progresses, throughout the history of humanity, is that today's younger generation just automatically know how everything works. Well, in fact, this is furthest from the case. What we've seen is, as technology progresses, is that we've seen this with telephones, we've seen this with televisions, with automobiles, with any form of technology. As we move into more and more of the consumer adopting, the consumer leading the design and the usability of the equipment, that they actually know less and less of how the equipment actually works. In comparison, not many people today know how an automobile works. If you open up the hood, you look in it, it's confusing, there's wires, there's valves, there's whatever. The same with computers. The average user today, regardless of the age, does not really know how the internal workings of the device works, nor do they really need to. Just like a television or a telephone or a cell phone or a coffee pot or microwave, we plug it in and the users use it. It's the interactivity of the users have with that device that allows them to move forward, not the understanding of how the device truly works. The other changes that have been happening in society from my point of view is the creation of the new global communities. You hear a lot of talk about the youth today, the younger generation, that they're not into family, that they lose that communication connection, where in reality what you see is that they are building their own families. They're building a new reality based on the world that is being presented to them. With distances and the blood family members being scattered across provinces, countries, even around the world, humans have this innate need to have a community, to have those that they can call family, to have those that they have close to home. So what we see is students and the young generation making their own communities, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's in regards to a social group that they belong to or a social club they belong to on campus, or even just their own peers. What we see is the human need for family, the human need for the tribe, manifesting itself through social media to create the tribes that these individuals truly feel part of. Another one of the misconceptions that we have of today's younger generation is that they don't want to ask for help, where in essence it's actually further from the truth. It's just we have to know how they are asking for help. Students do not, or today's younger generation will not generally spend hours pouring out a book. They may not be the first to rush to the front of the class to ask for help. But if you engage them in the tools that they have come to learn, appreciate, and believe are the tools for communication, they will engage. If you can use tools such as Facebook, you can use tools such as Messenger, text messaging. At our help desk at the college, we are now engaging students via those types of platforms to get their feedback. Faculty who do this, who have the Facebook groups, who use tools in their LMS systems to allow students to interact and ask questions in their way, will find that the students will actually ask more questions than ever before. The notion that the generations that disengage is really a product of the environment that we've created. We've trained these students to sit in front of TVs, to sit in front of video games, to sit in front of computers. It was the babysitter for an entire generation. That is how they know how to interact. If you want to reach out to a student, if you want to reach out to a younger person, you have to reach out in the ways that they know. Yes, a lot of us wish that it was the old way where they would just come to us straight up, but this is the society, this is the world that we have created for them and that they struggle to learn how to adapt and survive in. One of the other shifts that has come up with the new generations and the modern youth, so to speak, is the concept of ownership of information. Again, what we have created is this massive information repository that we know as the internet, and we have trained this generation that they can go to the internet at any time and retrieve any piece of information for free. This generation doesn't understand the concepts of copyright, doesn't understand the concepts of ownership of media. Using my own daughters, for example, for the concept of them to walk into a store, to look for a reference book, to look for even music is very alien to them. If they want information, they go to the source that they know. My daughter just last night was looking for help on a homework project she was doing. I didn't have the answer for her, so I said, ask her friends. Did she text? No. Did she email them? No. Did she call them? No. She put a question on her wall on Facebook saying, this is what I'm needing help with. And then all the responses came to her. Links to websites, links to documents, links to Wikipedia. links to some places that probably were copyright, but it was the sharing of information. And to this generation, that sharing of information is more important than the information itself. In terms of instant gratification, is one of the things that I hear mentioned a lot about the youth of today, is that they want everything and they want it now. Well, to be honest, that is perfectly the truth. What again we have done through the involvement of the media and the upbringing of this generation is that we have trained them once again to expect answers now. Whether they're playing a video game, whether they're on the internet, we've trained them that if they want something, ask for it and go get it. So this entire generation doesn't understand the concept of why they have to wait to get something. If I need this piece of information, if I need this answer, why do I have to wait a day, a week, or a month to get it? Why do I have to go to a bookstore to get it? Why do I have to go to a library to get the answer? Why isn't the answer just presented right now? And again, we have this wonderful tool called the internet that 99 times out of 100 will give them the answer, or will give them the item. I want to hear this particular song. Again, my daughters last night, they're on iTunes downloading music that they heard on the radio that day. They don't want to wait until the next day to go to the store. They know they have the tools to go and get those items now, and so they do. Personally, one of the biggest changes I've seen in the educational realm, or the expectations of student, is the less and less reliance of the sage on the stage. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, there would be a limited number of individuals that were an expert in a field, and you'd have to go to them and get the information. And at the time, the only efficient way to get the information back from them was to have them lecture, to have them talk to you. Well, I like to think back to one of the greatest minds of all time, being Albert Einstein, and one of his quotes, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't know it exactly, which is basically, I do not attempt to teach my students, I only provide them the environment in which they can learn. And I think that today's students are demanding that more and more. They read, they surf the internet, they share information, they may have bits and pieces. What they want is that expert to put their ideas into a concrete form, to confirm what they know, to correct them where they don't know, and to allow them to share their ideas, to explore, and to learn. I think what we're seeing is the educational environment truly evolving into a collaboration where there is no teacher, there is no learner, everybody is there learning and growing and gathering the information and sharing the information so that everybody becomes better with the material. Another one of the topics that comes up from a lot is the work ethic of the younger generation. Again, what we have is a society that we're trying to pigeonhole these individuals in that work on a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4 model, that you go to work, you sit at your desk, you sit at your cubicle, you get a 15-minute break, you then sit at your cubicle some more, you get 45 minutes from lunch, and then you repeat it for the afternoon. I'd like to take this example with a former student of mine who was labeled a troublemaker, was labeled unteachable, was labeled having the worst work ethic ever. This was an individual that was a free spirit, was creative, knew his stuff, was intelligent beyond, you could just tell he knew he was. A C/D student throughout high school. He comes to me, he actually improved his grades, B's, he got a few A's, went out to his first work practicum. And what we did is we found a work practicum for him that said, listen, this guy knows his stuff, but he doesn't like sitting at a cubicle. A few years later, working with this company, they gave him the option. They gave him the ability to say, this is the project, we need it done for such and such day. How you do the project is up to you. This is an individual that will wander in around 10 a.m., generally has sneakers on, might have put on a pair of pants, if not his shorts that day. Is a very creative spirit. Will communicate with folks, will engage with folks, will ask questions, and appears to anybody from outside to not be doing anything. Yet time and time and time again, once the moment hits him, which generally for this individual was around 10 o'clock at night, the material, and this was in digital media, the material he would create was amazing. Always on time, always on point, way more than the clients had ever asked for. I think that what we see is that by trying to pigeonhole individuals into a model that was developed for the Industrial Revolution is in essence the greater problem than letting people work at their own ability, at their own pace. Yes, there are certain occupations that have to be in a certain time frame, but the creative ones, and even some of the non-creative ones, even accounting, does it matter when the books get done, or does it matter that the books get done? One of the things that people, I guess, should understand about technology is that over the past 30 years, since Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all of them back in the 70s started this revolution, is that in reality, for the past 30, going on 40 years, we've been living in one big beta test where we've been trying to get this technology right. Nobody liked DOS. Nobody liked Windows 3.1. Nobody liked the original clunky mice. Nobody liked, even the original graphic interfaces. I mean, we can look at all the operating system bombs that were out there. But what we see is this trend. This trend to make the technology as usable as possible, to make it intuitive. And as we're looking at new devices such as the touch devices and the convergence of putting everything into one device, we're getting closer and closer to that dream of true interactivity with the device where you don't need a 100-page instruction manual. I remember trying to figure out my first computer and turning the thing on. Colleges and universities used to have mandatory computer courses so we could teach individuals how to turn the computer on, how to get there. It's very commonplace now to turn a computer on. It's very commonplace to figure out how to use a device such as an iPad. They're very intuitive. Are they perfect yet? No, there's still a long ways to go. But what we are, again, is in that beta phase. 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 1,000 years from now, people are going to look at this period of time and put it all in one sentence. There were no computers, and then they made it perfect. We're in that beta testing phase, and change keeps coming, change keeps happening as we try to perfect the technology to work how we not only expect it to, but we're intuitively, as humans, designed to use.